My opinion. To be honest, my opinion is stupid, but then still I tried.
It doesn't matter. That was the first attempt. I told you that the first 2-3 days you will try. It's going to be just not satisfactory. But then slowly you'll get to know where to improve, how to improve, what the tone of your voice, everything will get in place. Yeah. So where were you getting stuck? First, you have to figure that out.
Ma'am,
So,
the maybe the vocabulary part and
hmm.
sentence framing maybe.
Okay, sentence framing and vocab will come slowly. First thing is, did you get your points? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Two of them.
And were you able to use a template?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is the first thing you have to do. Yeah. Put your answer into a template, see if it is well organized. Then slowly you will get into improving on your sentence structure and vocab. Yeah. First important thing is that you have to get so used to it that it should come naturally. Yeah. This is my topic. Firstly, secondly, I agree, disagree, or whatever else would come in. Yeah. So keep practicing. Did you record yourself? You heard what you said?
Yes,
How did,
yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
it sounded terrible?
And I'm not terrible, like,
Yeah, okay. So
yeah.
not terrible, at least good enough. Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yes.
You have to keep practicing till you can perfect your speaking. Right? Okay. So who else is there? Celeb, how about you? Yes, Celeb. Were you able to try some speaking?
No, I'm not really.
Not really. You didn't attempt any?
I don't find the time for this one.
Okay. So I hope over the weekend you will be at least getting some time. See, the thing is that you will require just about 5 minutes daily for an independent speaking task, right? For integrated speaking task, maybe you have to get out your material, you have to listen to a track, and getting down to doing all that could take you, getting down and doing the whole task would take you around 10 minutes. So if you put in about 15 minutes daily, say about 1 or 2 independent tasks you will be able to do, and at least one integrated task. Now, the independent task needs a little more practice because speaking extempo without any clue of what to talk about becomes a little difficult. But with practice, at least if you get to use your template properly, you know the structure, you know how to if you increase on your confidence level, I'm sure you will be able to do it. Right? Okay, Charul, how about you?
And
Your voice is breaking, not very clear. Can you?
ma'am, sorry to disturb you, but
Yes, I'm.
everyone is putting camera off. I can't understand. Everyone is
Yeah.
having the problem.
So please, everyone can have your camera on. Otherwise, it's very difficult to
Genuine
interact.
problem is that we can understand, but everyone is putting off the camera. And every day I have to remind you to put on the camera.
Yes, Chinmay, Manya, thank you. Ayan, Kesar. Okay, I'll just wait till everyone has has their cameras on, and then we will begin. Okay.
I'll require 5 minutes.
So before you come on to the Zoom, please ensure that your video and audio are working properly. Check your video and audio before logging in. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Okay, sir? Please come on with your camera. Okay, anybody else who has done any practice? I had said record yourself. I would want to listen to the recording. Varshini, how about you?
I did practice it, ma'am.
You did? So, did you record yourself?
I did, but then I can't really share the recording.
Okay.
My phone.
So, how did it go?
Ma'am, the first few times were not really good, but
Hmm.
later taking down notes took a while, but then I was able to.
Okay. So did you get your template and your points properly?
Yeah, I have. Ma'am, but then I was not able to find a finishing line for everything.
You don't need a finishing line.
Because I ended abruptly and then it's not really looking fine.
See, the independent speaking is such that you need a proper introduction. You need your 2 points with examples and reason. And if you don't have a conclusion, it's absolutely fine. Right? If you have time, maybe you, and usually in 45 seconds, that's all you can do. You hardly have any time left for a conclusion. Yeah, so if you don't have a conclusion, it's okay. So you can send me your recordings, maybe not the previous ones, ones you will do today and later. Send me your recordings on WhatsApp so I can listen to it and see if it's okay or not. Yeah. Okay, Tanush.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you practice?
Yes, ma'am.
How was it?
Good.
It was good. You are satisfied with your responses?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you replay after recording it?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you find, did it, if you were to rate your response, or say you are the examiner and you are rating the response, how much would you give it?
Out of 10,
Out of 4.
out of 4,
Remember the
3.
parameters? So it was, the flow was okay, the points were there, examples were there, reason was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. So you can do one thing. Today and tomorrow, whatever you record, you send me on WhatsApp. Yeah, you will find
Yeah,
my
ma'am.
number on the group. Right? Okay, Ayan,
Ma'am, I wasn't able to practice the speaking.
you didn't do anything.
No, ma'am.
Okay, one thing you all can do is, you can just copy, say, 3 or 4 topics onto your clipboard and in your mobile. So anywhere you are, whenever you get a 5 minutes here and there, you can look at the topic and practice, right? So it doesn't require too much of time. Even 5 minutes every day, or maybe you can just have somebody in front of you if you want to. Otherwise, just record yourself and share it with me, or just listen to it. And so at least 2-3 days, maybe you can just listen to yourself. And if you think that, okay, you want to share with me, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay, so who of you, anybody else who has recorded and figured out how it went? Rishikesh?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you practice?
Yes, ma'am.
So where did you think that you could improve further?
I have to improve in elaborating the topic, which point I have selected.
Okay.
I am not able to make the sentence of that point. So I'm
So
lagging there.
are you perfect with your template?
Yes, I am
So
perfect with points.
okay, so you are perfect on the first step. So now when you come to your points, next topic onwards, try to just focus on the elaboration.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So you focus on one thing at a time, it becomes easier. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So now we can move on with our lesson today. Anybody else wants to share the experience with practicing? Nobody else? Manya,
Ma'am, I didn't practice yet.
you didn't practice yet. Okay. So I hope you will be able to practice today. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's see who else is here. Is Nidini there? Nidini is not there. Okay. Okay, so the previous lesson we did the independent speaking task, the agree disagree questions, right? Now everyone is well versed with the agree disagree questions now. So we will move on to the personal preference questions, right? So the second format we are going to get to is a personal preference. When we are talking about personal preference, there would be usually two choices and you would be asked what would you prefer, right? And rest of it will remain the same. You'll have to provide specific reasons and examples to explain why you prefer that option. Like you explain why you agree or disagree, same way. Only difference here is the beginning. So the format, in your format or template, if you see the wordings of the introduction may be a little different. Just the terms agree or disagree will be replaced with I would prefer, or according to me, this is better. Something of that sort will come in. And rest of it remains the same. So suppose you have a question like this: would you prefer to have a higher paying job with longer hours or a lower paying job with shorter hours? Yeah. So this is an independent task question. So no matter what, you will be having 15, you will be getting 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to respond. Right? And slowly you will be getting used to completing your answer in 45 seconds. So you would have questions like this. So use details and examples to support your explanation. Or say if you are to choose between two apartments to live in the next semester, one apartment is near the campus but slightly expensive. The other is a little far away from the campus but cheaper. Which one would you prefer and why? Right? So if you look at these two questions, there is a choice between two situations. So in the first one, there's a choice between the higher paying job with longer hours and the lower paying job with shorter hours. So if you were to, now how do you go about these questions, whether you agree, disagree, or the preference questions? Look at both sides. Now it doesn't have to be what you actually prefer, but if you think of the points on both the on both sides, then which one would you be able to talk more about? So you just go on to talk about that. So suppose you didn't have enough points for higher paying job with longer hours. You had more points for longer paying job with shorter hours. Go for it. So because there is no right or wrong answer, right? If you say the second one, so what is the choice between? Somebody tell me. Okay, Varshini, Chinmay, everybody please have your cameras on. I think Anushka ma'am would be taking action if people don't have their cameras on. And if you haven't given any valid reason. Okay, there's no reason given as yet.
मैम कुछ बोला आपने?
हाँ, मैंने कहा Anushka ma'am can take action if people don't have the cameras on.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Now, if you say higher in the second one, what are we compare? What are the two options that you have? Who can tell me? Tanush? Question number 2 here. What is the choice between? It talks about between two apartments. So the first apartment is near the campus, expensive. Other is little far away from the campus, but cheaper. Which one would you prefer? Yeah. So suppose you have this type of question. First thing you decide is what are the points you can talk about. So if you do you want to stay near the campus, what are the advantages of staying near the campus, right? So would it be okay if it is slightly expensive? So even if it is slightly expensive, living near the campus would be beneficial or not, right? So does it go on your budget? Maybe you can talk about that. Now, if you are choosing something, if you think that, okay, living far from the campus, but it is cheaper. So what is the main point you would be talking about? That it is budget friendly. And even if it is far away from the campus, maybe it is in the city. So maybe it is in the city center or in a place which is good to live in, right? So what are the points that you can weigh? So you weigh your points on both sides and see which one would make a stronger answer, right? So it's not about like everyone thinks that staying near the campus is okay, but maybe living far away from the campus would be more beneficial. You can talk about other amenities that are available, right? Okay, if you look at another one. Do you like to attend a college or university full-time or part-time? Do you think your choice is better than the other? Explain by using details and examples. So here we have a choice between attending a college or university full-time or part-time. So full-time versus part-time. Can you think of points? Yes. Think of a few points on both sides. Something for the full-time, what are the advantages of the full-time? Or what are the advantages of part-time? Or maybe you could also think of what are the advantages of the full-time college attendance and what are the disadvantages of part-time college attendance. So there could be a combination of points coming in. Okay, so anybody with any points? Talib? I think you must have got some point. So just see if you can speak and we can hear you, whether you are audible or not. Talib, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, but
Okay, I think you're having a problem with your audio. Maybe you could join in from your mobile also, so that maybe your audio would be better on your mobile. You can give it a try.
I think I'll even join the meeting again because it's musical.
Okay, Akshita. What points would
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have? What points do you have?
Ma'am, for the third question, right?
Yeah, for the third one. Attending
Ma'am,
college full-time or part-time?
Ma'am, I have the points for attending the college part-time would provide us with opportunities to pursue other extracurricular activities. It would also allow us to earn money on our own and be independent and pay for our own college expenses and other personal expenses.
Okay. So you have 2 points. One is extracurricular activities and taking up a part-time job and earning from that. Yeah, to
Yes,
help you to
ma'am.
pay expenses. Okay, good. Rishikesh,
Ma'am, same points, ma'am.
same points. Nothing new?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Varshini, anything new?
Ma'am, for the part-time,
No, whatever your preferences, it could be
I
full-time
have
also.
point for part-time.
Okay.
So increase social life, more field work, exposure outside college,
Okay.
and for full-time, it gets exhausting and overwhelming, and it might get boring. That's all.
Okay. Anybody else? Yaksh?
Nothing else. I just written extra about self-study time. If
Self-study time if you
Yes,
attend college
part-time.
part-time.
yes,
Okay. So quite a few points we have here. Anybody else with any point? Charul?
Ma'am, I have
Nothing.
similar points.
Okay. Come up with your points.
Ma'am, just like same like extracurricular activities and self-study. We get time for ourselves to take
Time
care
for
like yoga and
yourself. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Are you there? Okay, sir. Please respond. Anushka ma'am, can you please check with Kesar Patil?
Yes, ma'am. Just hold on.
Yeah, she isn't responding. Okay. So now if you see, you have quite a few points. Now the next step is putting those points in a proper format. So again, we come to what? We come to our template, right? So similar, as we did a template for the agree disagree question, we can have a template for the preference question also. So the same thing, you begin with the topic and your opinion on it. So you will be expressing your preference. So to me, or I prefer X over Y for 2 main reasons. Clear? Yeah. So I prefer this over that. Say I prefer to attend college part-time rather than take a full-time college. So I prefer to, and then you can go on to with for 2 main reasons. Or to me, X is preferable to Y. Any of these you can use. I prefer X to Y or X over Y. Now, if you see, this is what is important over here. The terms that you are going to use or the prepositions that should come in. So when you talk about I prefer, it will be to or over, right? Or to me, something is preferable to the other thing. Or if you can also say, I would rather attend, like if you take the third question, I would rather attend college part-time than attend regular or full-time classes, right? So this is your introduction. First thing you need is introduction. What do you need next? Expansion, right? For when you say 2 main reasons, so reason number 1, first reason. Now here it will be similar to the agree disagree question. So your first reason, you give a reason, and support it with the help of examples, right? So you can begin with the first reason is, or first of all, and then you go on to give the example, explain. Then you introduce your second reason. So second reason is, or secondly, or furthermore. So the transitions are important. And then if you have time, you can go on to a conclusion. If you don't have time, no conclusion is required, right?
Ma'am,
Okay,
three
just a
of them
minute.
having some network issue.
Okay. And Nishtha, where is Nishtha coming from?
Yeah.
Nishtha, Kesar, at least you people can respond. Nishtha,
Yes.
you have a problem with your video?
Yes, ma'am. Even that time, actually, the place I'm here, the network was very, very bad. It happened in the last class also. So I've
Where,
joined
where
phone
are
now.
you? Where are you?
Actually, I'm not in my house right now. I'm in Bandra, and here, like, I have to attend the class on mobile data. So it's very.
Okay.
If I turn on the video, your voice gets started fluctuating.
Okay, at least you will be able to respond.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
are you able to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so everyone has got the template. Now the template is there in your study material, the guidelines section. So if you want to take it down, you can write it down. It will be easier for you to respond as we move, as we start with the speaking practice. So write down, pick up any one. Suppose you can just pick up any one format, right? So either I prefer X over Y or X to Y, or you can say I prefer to do this rather than, that way you can put it. And then you go on to the first reason is, or first of all, and then furthermore, any one of them. So suppose if I pick up, I prefer X to Y or X over Y, first of all, and furthermore. So these are the three sentence openings that I have picked, right? So you can pick up any of the sentence openings, 3 sentence openings you require, write them down, right? Everyone has done that? Okay, we can move on now. So if I were to put them into sentences, I prefer to find information by reading books, right? And over here, you can even add over using the internet, right? Depending upon what the question is. To me, eating at restaurants is far preferable to eating at home. Yeah. To me, it begins with to me, your X is far preferable to Y. I prefer having a higher paying job with longer hours to having a lower paying job with shorter hours, right? So I prefer having a higher paying job. This is the question that we were talking about, the second one. Higher paying job with longer hours to having a lower paying job with shorter hours. So the comparison is there. Now let's look at a sample response to one of these questions. Say this one. Do you prefer to eat at food stands or restaurants? Use details and examples to support your explanation. Yeah. So what are we comparing? Eating at food stands to eating at restaurants. Yeah. So as we do this, you also, everyone think of a few points on this and how you would be wanting to respond. So after reading the sample response, where you get a clear idea of how to frame your answer, we will go into responding to this question. So it begins with, I prefer eating at restaurants over, so I prefer, the format is X over Y. I prefer eating at restaurants over eating at food stands for 2 main reasons, right? The first reason is I grew up dining in restaurants, so I am accustomed to eating in them. Actually, I cannot remember the last time I ate at a food stand. Plus, eating in a nice building is much more comfortable compared to eating outside, right? So the first point, and why, so the dining in restaurants versus accustomed to, and actually cannot remember when I ate at food stands. Now, plus eating in a nice building, so maybe they wanted to say the ambience is better, is much more comfortable compared to eating outside. So the comparison is always there, right? The second reason is there is a better food selection. I can have more choices and my food is cooked better because they have a proper cooking system. Yeah. So this was the first point. This is the second point. So how did we begin? I prefer X over Y for two main reasons. The first reason is, and then expand on it. The second reason is, and expand on it. Right? Got it? So maybe some of you have points which are different to this. Okay, Pari, would you want to try?
Ma'am, I actually just joined because I was in a class.
I saw you just joined.
Yes.
So this is the preference question. Your question is, do you prefer to eat at food stands or restaurants? Use detail and examples to support your explanation. So, and the template, we can use the template that is here in green, or any other template that you want to use. This is the easiest way to put it actually. So you can think of points on your own, or if you have thought of points, who would want to answer?
Ma'am.
Yes, who's this?
Can we, Yakshma?
Yes, I couldn't hear you clearly.
Ma'am, Yakshma.
Yes.
Asking ma'am, can we choose both the options?
Now, when you are, there are two ways of dealing with this. Number one is you put one preference over the other. Now, suppose you don't have enough points for the first preference. You can go on to the disadvantages or the negative points of the second option, right? So both ways you can frame your answer, but you have to begin with what you choose and why. At least one point should be in its favor. The second point could be like the disadvantage of the second thing, right? So Yaksh, would you want to try framing your answer?
Mostly same as this, ma'am, but I was thinking about sanitary reasons.
Okay, go on.
More cleanliness. In restaurants, you may find more sanitary measures to be followed, but if sanitary measures are followed at a food stalls, and I don't mind eating.
So apart from sanitary reasons, anything else?
I haven't thought of it.
You haven't thought of it. Okay,
Restaurants
give
are
it a thought.
basically a wide variety of choices, unlike
Right.
in food stands.
Anything else? Wide variety of choices. So you have to be specific and give an example. If you say
For example, a food stand will sell particularly Indian or Chinese, but a restaurant will have all the varieties. For example, Chinese, Indian, Italian.
Okay, so you want you prefer the restaurants because they have wide varieties in their menu, including you may even give a personal example that I prefer Italian food, which is usually on the menu of restaurants rather than the food stands on the road. Yeah, and you can go on to the quality also. So can you frame the entire answer instead of giving me just a point? Just try to frame the entire answer. Who wants to do it? Somebody who hasn't spoken as yet. Ayan, would you try to frame the entire answer? The
Ma'am,
sample is there in front of you, so you can refer to it also.
like the entire 2-point answer.
Yeah, including the introduction.
Okay, so I would prefer eating food at a restaurant than at a food stand for two main reasons. The first reason being the restaurants have more sanitary options. They are under regular check, and there is less chance of getting some kind of infection. And the other being, we can have a variety of choices at restaurants which are not available at food stalls, and which are not available in most of the food.
Better choices, you can say a wide variety of cuisines. Yeah, so get in a few terms which show that, okay, you have a better hold on vocabulary, right? Okay, you had a few points. Maybe you could add some personal examples, right? When you talk about they have better cuisines, for example. So always try to bring in an example to make it sound authentic, sound strong enough, right? Okay, I think we'll go on to something. Okay, there was a little conclusion also, if you had time. Okay, so now this is your next question, and this time I'm going to use a timer, right? So we will get to know how much is 15 seconds and how much is 45 seconds. Okay. So now your timer for preparing will start after the question is read out to you. So along with that, you can read your question, and in the meantime, you can write down your template also. So there are many different approaches to academic studies, and all of them have specific benefits. Do you prefer to study for tests in a group or study alone? Include details and examples to support your explanation. So you can plan for 15 seconds, and your time starts now. So make full use of the 15 seconds you have. Okay, so that's your 15 seconds over, right? So were you able to plan? Got your points? Yaksh?
Ma'am, I got one.
You got 1 point.
Three.
3 points, very good. Okay, now, so everyone has got their points, I suppose? So you should be ready to respond. Everyone should be ready to respond. I'll call up just about anybody. And we are going to time ourselves. I'm going to time you for 45 seconds. Right? Okay, let's see. Manya? Yes, please unmute yourself. Manya Srivastava, please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, please start speaking now.
I would prefer to study for tests in a group rather than studying alone for two main reasons. First reason being it would help to memorize some points better by discussion, and second point would be it would also help us to clear some doubts by discussion.
Okay, you still have 8 seconds left.
Therefore, I prefer to study for tests in a group than studying alone.
Okay. Now, Manya, you had 2 points. Can you repeat just the points that you brought up?
Ma'am, it would help us to memorize things more fast, and it would help us to clear doubts
Clear doubts.
by
Okay.
discussing.
So now have you expanded your points well enough?
No, ma'am.
No. You still have scope to expand your points with examples. So when you say it helps us to memorize better, you can give a personal example. For example, in a chemistry exam, I studied with my friends and I was able to remember more of the portion than the portion I studied alone, right? So a simple personal example will help to expand and clarify your point, right? Now for the second point, when you said, what did you say about clearing doubts?
Yes.
Right? You just said we can clear doubts. You didn't expand on it. Right?
Yes.
So think of an example to expand on it. Okay, I'll take maybe one more person on this topic before we move on to the next question. Tanush?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you respond to this question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So,
begin speaking now.
To me, studying alone is far more preferable than studying in groups for a test. Now, this is because when I study alone, I get to focus far more better. I get to focus better. While when I study in groups, we usually end up talking a lot with friends. We get in conversation, which wastes a lot of time. While we study alone, this does not happen. We get to use the time that we study fully, and we don't have disturbance.
Okay. So now, Tanush, how many points did you have? Clear points.
2 points.
Were they really 2 points or it was just an expansion of the first point? Did you use a template? You began with the template, but then after that, it went missing. So that's why even if you had 2 points, there was no clarity that this is your first point and this is your second point. Yeah, it seemed to be just an expansion of 1 point, right? Okay, now when you come to your point, to your speaking, okay, this is for everybody. Try to speak a little faster, not too slow. Remember, your pace should be normal, not too slow, not too fast, right? So you have to be, now it shouldn't seem that you are pausing in the middle because you have to think. It should be something, even if you're not, maybe you don't have your point, but you can think of an example. So you have to think while you speak, but it should not show, right? So that's one thing you have to work on. Okay, now let's look at the next question.
Ma'am, can I have a try at this? Because
okay, yes, Pari, you can.
I prefer studying for tests alone rather than studying in a group because of 2 main reasons. Firstly, because studying alone minimizes the distractions and helps to concentrate better. In a group study, we may lose track of time while talking to each other. And secondly, everyone has their own study methods. Some may be able to study better while listening to music, while some may require a calm study environment. These may clash in a group study. Hence, it's better to study alone, according to me.
Okay, good. You had a well-formatted response and you had 2 clear points with examples. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at a sample here. I prefer studying for my tests all by myself. I feel this way for 2 reasons. Yeah. Now it says, first of all, I can focus entirely on what I need to learn. So the focus comes in. When we study in a group, everyone has different weak spots and they all deserve to be touched on, even if some members of the group are really strong in those areas. In contrast, when we work alone, we can focus entirely on our own weak spots and therefore get the best possible test score. Yeah, so the comparison, when you have a preference question, you can always bring in the comparison. And then we go on to the second point. Secondly, I am easily distracted, which can have disastrous effects when I study in a group. For instance, now see how the example comes in. For instance, last year I was preparing for a midterm exam with a bunch of classmates, but we ended up chatting a lot about music and sports instead of studying, and therefore my test score was quite bad, right? So if you see, all the points are well arranged with examples and with comparisons. So in a preference question, you can bring in the comparison with the other side and use examples, personal examples, help in these type of questions. Because you are talking about what you prefer, so obviously you will require personal examples. Okay. So everyone got this? How you can frame it to get a better response? Okay. Okay, let's now look at another question type. Now here we have, there we had a the preference question where we had two choices. Now the same preference type of question can come with three choices, right? So now here you will be given three options and you can pick one of them. Suppose we have this question. Your degree requires that you should choose a history course. Which of the following courses would you prefer? Now it's basically a preference question, but you have three things to choose from: art history, 20th century world history, science history. Now if you get this type of a question and you would start thinking, now what is art history, what is 20th century world history, and what is science history? Now history everyone has studied, right? Science, all of you have studied. Yeah. So I don't think it will be difficult. And this is not, and here these questions don't require too much of knowledge, but you need to frame your answer properly, right? So now here you can pick up any one of them. Say if I pick up science history. How can I talk about science history? Why you prefer science history? Maybe you can say, I am interested in science. Yeah, as a science student, I am more interested in science than art history or world history, right? And then you can talk about, you can expand on that a little more on your interests. So it is interesting to know about the different inventions, when and who invented them. That would be something related to science history, right? For example, you can pick up an example, say example about Newton, his life, or maybe about say the discovery of the atom bomb. Anything you can put in as an example. Maybe you read something and it was really interesting. And then you can come to a second point. Now, suppose it happens that you can't think of a second point. Then what do? Then you go to these other two which you have left out and say why you don't want to take these up. So maybe art history. I wouldn't like to study art history because I'm not really interested in arts. I find it rather boring, right? Or I don't understand modern art. Something of that sort. Or 20th century world history. You can say something why you don't want to do or don't like world history. So that would also make up an answer, right? Okay, now let's look at this question. Now read this. It says, which of the following courses would you prefer? A course about art history, the study of objects of art in the historical development and stylistic context. A course about 20th century world history, the study critical understanding of major political developments. A course about science history, the study of development of science and scientific knowledge. If you see, both of them are the same question. Only in the second version, it is an expansion. So a little more details about each of the topics is given to you, each of the choices given to you, but your task remains the same and your approach will also remain the same, right? Got it? So only here it helps you to now don't spend too much of time going into the details of the question. Break it down, just get to the main points. What do you have to compare? Art history, 20th century world history, science history. That's it, right? Maybe the question is in front of you when you are answering and you want to talk about that you don't like 20th century world history. So then you can use this detail to just frame your sentence to tell why you don't like it. Suppose I would say, I wouldn't prefer studying 20th century world history because I am not too much into critical analysis of political developments, right? Or you can say, I find them too complicated to understand. And if you're talking about science, science history, maybe I took up art history and I don't like science history. Studying about scientific knowledge and how they develop doesn't really appeal to me, right? For example, studying about the various experiments that related to Mendel's law and the evolution doesn't really help solving problems in today's life, you can say. I don't see how it helps solve problems. So anything can go in. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. It is about how you present your points. Okay. Now let's look at some other questions. You need to accomplish an assignment for a presentation. Which one will you choose? Act out a scene from a play with a partner. Explain your review of a novel you recently read. Read a selection of poems, right? Include details and examples to support your choice. Okay, so now let's try to do this. So you have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay. Thought of your points? So 15 seconds is not much. That's all you, I think this is 30 seconds now. Okay, now who is ready to respond? All of you should be ready to respond, right? So let's see. Varshini?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, can you respond on this?
I'll try.
Okay, start speaking.
I prefer reviewing a novel rather than acting out a play with my friend or read a section of a poem because of the following two reasons. Firstly, when I give you a review, I can express my own views on it. For example, I can motivate others to read the certain novel that I read. I could have a voice on my own and share my thoughts. Secondly, giving a review is a thing which is done by yourself and you don't need to rely on others. And it can be a project it can be a presentation from my own end.
Okay, so that's your 45 seconds. You've used the entire 45 seconds.
Okay.
Now coming to your points, your first point had a little bit of repetition, right? So you were thinking maybe you were thinking about what else to say on the same thing. So you could just have used a specific example. For example, when I reviewed say you can pick up any name of a novel, whatever comes to your mind. While for example, I did the review of say X novel, and I went into depth of the thought process I went into understanding the depth of the thought process of the writer, right? So some examples of why you would do that, right? Now coming to your second point, did you expand it completely or would you have said something else?
I should have said something more.
You should have said something more, yeah? Some specific example. So always remember the point is there. If you can expand better if you give a specific personal example. So that will bring in clarity to what you are saying, and it will also, like, maybe when we say 45 seconds, at least 20 seconds per point, you can divide it that way, right? Okay, anybody else has some other points here? Some other preference? Who would want to speak? No volunteers? Sahas, would you want to speak?
I didn't get much of a point.
Doesn't matter, try. Now, in your exam, they won't ask you, have you got your points or not? Whether you have your points or not, you have to speak. Right? Okay,
Yeah.
go on.
Ma'am, I would like to choose the second option, that's explain your review of a novel.
Okay, now in your response, just suppose you are speaking on the mic. How would you begin?
I would prefer second option, explain your novel.
You
explain your
wouldn't
review.
wouldn't say second option. You would just say what it is. Go on.
I would prefer to explain the review of a novel which I read recently. Since I had already read the novel, I can complete the task quickly and get over with my presentation. I won't require much of a research.
So would you
That's
say
why
I won't require much of a research, or you would say that I have already done some research on the novel? Which one would be better?
I had done some research on it.
Right. So now if you don't have a second point, what can you do? Suppose you don't have a second point, where did SARS go? Yeah, you are there. So if you don't have a second point, what can you do? Alternate. What's the alternate strategy? Talk about the other two and say why you would not want to do them. Right? So you can do that. So, okay, last time I had told you all that try writing a response. Has anybody tried writing a response? No? So, okay, next time when you first try writing the response and then go on to speaking on it. That will become a little easier to begin with. Say about 2 days you try doing that and then go on to talking about the entire thing. Okay, now let's go on to the next question. Which of the following qualities will you value the most when selecting a roommate abroad? Quietness, cleanliness, or friendliness? So you have 3 qualities, and you are choosing a roommate when you are studying abroad. So 15 seconds to think of your points. Done? You should be done with your points. You've thought of a template? Okay, who wants to speak? No one wants to volunteer to speak? I want you people coming up on your own. No? Okay, Charul, can you speak on this?
Yeah, ma'am, I would like to try.
Okay, begin speaking.
To me, I would prefer friendliness rather than a cleanliness person or a quietness person, because friendliness is more important to get comfortable at a place which is unknown to you. And a friend who is very nice to you do not make you to remember your parents or your close ones who are far from you. And if your friends are very close to you and they are friendly, then with a good understanding, it can be, the person can be quiet and cleanness as well. So according to me, I would prefer friendliness people.
Friendliness people?
Yeah.
What does that mean? You said friendliness people. Is it correct? Or friendly people? Right? So here they have given you qualities. You have to use those words, but in the format which is correct. Right? If they have said friendliness, doesn't mean that it should be friendliness people. I would prefer people who are friendly. That would be correct. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do you think your answer was up to the mark?
No, ma'am.
You had your points more or less. You had examples somewhat, but the examples could be better. Right? And when you came up with your second point, probably that was your second point, you didn't mention secondly, or furthermore, the transition wasn't there. The second point was not very clear on what you wanted to say. Right? So you have to work on clarity of presentation when you deal with your points. And your examples could be a little more like when I'm away from, say, maybe you could say it in a little different way. When I'm away from home in a foreign country, I would surely miss my friends here and my family. But if I have a friendly roommate, then maybe I would not miss them too much. Yeah, it would compensate for being away from my family. You can say that also. So presenting your points, everyone has to work on that. Anybody else wants to respond on this? Maybe you've got more time and prepared your answer. Who else? Who hasn't spoken till now? Tanush, would you be able to speak? Yes, Tanush, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you speak on this? You can begin now.
Yes, ma'am. While selecting a roommate abroad, the quality that I would value the most would be friendliness. Now, this is because whenever I'm moving abroad, in order to get comfortable with people, I need to be with friendly people. Quietness and cleanliness surely are important, but the first thing that matters is friendliness.
Expand on it a little more.
I need some time.
You had enough time. Your time is up. Okay, so you just said friendliness is important. Did you say why it is important? Was that clear?
In order to get comfortable with people,
Yeah. So in order to get comfortable, friendliness is important. So can you expand on that a little more?
Ma'am, like, so when we are moving abroad, there are many new people that we don't know, that we have never talked to before. Like, so in order to get going with them, get talking with them, they
So
need to be friendly. They
now
need to
here,
be open.
remember, it's talking about a roommate. A roommate is somebody whom you are going to be in your room for a large part of the day. Yeah. So getting comfortable with them is not only friend. When it is, you have people who are friendly, you can come. Now, one thing you can talk about is communication. You can communicate with them easily, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other point? If you have a friendly roommate, it helps to solve problems better, right?
Yes, ma'am.
There wouldn't be conflicts since you are living together for most part of your course, right? So there are lots of points that can come up, and you do need examples also. For example, if if I get along with my roommate well, then we can work out when our quiet spaces also, when I need my me time, and my roommate would be understanding enough. And we can also work on the cleanliness and divide our course between us. So remember, the different aspects of being a roommate you can bring out. Okay. Okay. Now we have one more question, or maybe you can just think of this. We will move on to the next question type. Otherwise, we won't be able to finish. Okay. So here it says, which of the following do you consider as the best technological invention for students? E-books, smartphones, or online classes? Now this should be easy for you. Yeah. Technological inventions, e-books, smartphones, online classes. Which of these are the best technological inventions? So all of them may seem good, but which one do you think for you has been most useful? Right? So if you're choosing ebooks, why? Always remember, answer the question why. So when you are giving a reason why, and example should come up. If you're using smartphones, then you have to see. Now you're basically, if you're preferring something, you have to talk about the advantages, how it has helped you. So how it helped you, that should come up with example, right? So you can try working on this for your homework. Now, so we answered most of the questions. Now let's see if we had our template correct. So if I had to choose between, most of you use that, I would prefer, or I would choose this over the other two. Then when you're giving two reasons, the same template as a preference question comes in, that first of all, the first reason is, or first of all, and then you give the reason and example. The second reason is, or secondly. Now, most of you I see are missing out on this. You begin with the template, and then you miss out on on bringing in clarity on the first reason and second reason. Yeah, don't do that. If you have a clear first reason and clear second reason, it is easier for the examiner to figure out what you want to say. And it improves your chances of getting a 4. Otherwise, even if you have your points, you've given everything, you will land up with a 3, because your organization of the answer is not up to the mark, right? Okay, now here we discuss about the alternate method, where you can explain why you did not choose the other two options if you don't have enough points. Yeah, if you have enough points, you can just compare. And if you don't have enough points, at least 1 point you give for what you have chosen. Second point, you can talk about why you don't want to choose the other two. right? Or maybe you don't have any points on what you want to prefer. Usually that should not happen. You should have a combination of the two methods. That is, one point of why you choose something and the other point of why you would not choose the other two. That could be a good enough answer. Right? Okay, now here we had a sample response for the art history 20th century world history one. If I had to choose between art history, 20th century world history, or science history, I would always choose art history, right? So if I had to choose between. Now remember in your the other preference question, you just said, I would prefer this over that. Here you have a choice between three things. So the between is important over here. I would choose, if I had to choose between these, I would prefer this. So to begin, that is clear first point. My favorite types of museums are art museums. I enjoy looking at the art and trying to interpret how people were feeling or what they were going through at that time. So the reason plus example is there. Second, compared to traditional history courses, art history can give a different perspective on a certain time period. So comparing to traditional history courses, right? Rather than hear facts and figures, art history courses give you the opportunity to see how common people felt at that time. So example is there, right? And okay, this is the point given, and expansion on the example. For example, people who lived through the war may paint scenes of how traditional towns were, rather than hear about fighting and conflict like you would in a history, yeah, in a history class or history course. So this would be a complete answer. Quite a lot of matter, but if you say it properly, it fits into 45 seconds, right? So the more you expand, the better for you. So clearly, you have to give your first point and your second point should be clear. So when you are listening to your response, you should be able to figure out, okay, here was your first point, here it ended, this is your second point, it ends here, right? Okay. Now there are a few questions here. I think I'll share the PPT also, and you'll find most of the questions in the volume also, quite a few of them. So here we have your degree requires you to take one course. Which one would you choose? Energy and environment, health and nutrition, solar system. Right? Now, and you have to give your reasons and examples. Just think of it. Think of a few points before we go into the sample answer. So which one would you take up as a course? And why? So first is which, and then you have first why and second why. So reason, example, think of it. So anyone with any points? So let's see who hasn't spoken as yet. Kesar, do you want to respond? No? Okay, just give me your points before we go on to you, or if you have the proper format, then you can just give me the answer. Who wants to? Manya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Manya, would you want to try?
Yes, ma'am, I can try.
Okay, go on.
I would like to prefer health and nutrition course over solar system and energy environment for two main reasons. First reason being that I like to stay healthy and fit, and I do exercises. I like to do exercise daily, and I would like to learn more about health and nutrition. And the second reason would be that I find to take health and nutrition course because it is because according to me I think it is more easy than solar system and energy, as I like the topic and I would like reading about it.
Okay. So, Manya, you've taken about 10 seconds extra, right?
Okay.
So why do you think you took more time?
Ma'am, because I could not come up with reasons.
First thing, your pace was very slow and you had some repetitions. Like when you say why you like health and nutrition, you went on to a lot of, I like to do exercise and I like to do this and I like to do that, right? So there was a lot of repetition that could be avoided, right?
Yes, ma'am, I was just thinking.
Yeah. So when you say I would like to know more of about what? Like, yeah, you could give an example. I would want to know more about the benefits of nutrition for maybe something specific, for diabetes, right? Anything that comes to your mind. Remember, just think about something and put in something specific. So remember, in all these answers of the independent section, specificity is important. Remember the rubrics, the scoring rubrics, where the development of the topic, how specific you are in developing the topic is very important, right? Anybody else with any new points here? Anyone wants to give me some points? No one? Kesar, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think your audio is also not fine. Okay, Varshini, do you have any other points?
Ma'am, I do, but then my template is not properly formed.
Okay, what points do you have?
Okay, so first, ma'am, I'll just start with it.
Okay, you can start with it.
Personally, I wish to know more about what's outside than what's inside. Inside, in the sense, Earth. Secondly, there are a lot of opportunities for us to discover something new. For instance, I could end up being the one to land a rover on Jupiter or anything else. Yeah, ma'am, that's all.
That's all. Now, from your response, I couldn't figure out what the question was.
Yeah, ma'am, I didn't have a starting point.
Yeah, so I would, so when you're talking about the solar system, it is intriguing to know about the solar system. You can begin with something like that.
Yeah, ma'am.
Right? And then when you're talking about, you want to know about Jupiter, what do you want to know about Jupiter?
I don't know.
Something specific should be there.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So always this is for everyone. When you are thinking, think of at least one specific example. So you've got one specific example, then you can move on to other specific examples. Yeah. Ayan, what happened? You seem to be quite restless.
No, nothing. There was something when the desk I was clearing it all out.
Okay. Okay, now let's see. I think, okay. So we can be, yeah, we have an example here. So in this example, this student begins with, I would choose health and nutrition classes for two main reasons. Yeah. Now, I would prefer if this would have begun with, I would choose health and nutrition classes over energy and environment and solar system for two main reasons. That would bring clarity of what the question is. First, I deal with nutrition every single day. When I am trying to make healthy choices for my body, I am sometimes uncertain about what the best foods are, what the best foods are the most nutritious. Little grammatical error. A health and nutrition class would surely ease that trouble and help me make choices that are good for my body, right? Second, I am not very interested in sciences. Now, one point for what the student wants to talk about. Second point on why not the others. Second, I am not interested in sciences, so I don't think an energy and environment or solar system class would be very intriguing to me. I would rather take classes that excite me rather than the class I was totally disinterested in. So when you lack a point, you can use this, but the examiner will surely understand that you weren't able to come up with a second point, right? So for these two reasons, I would choose to take health and nutrition class rather than energy and environment or solar system course. Now, this has been left for the conclusion, but don't leave the sentence for the conclusion. Use it in the introduction, because if you don't have enough time, then you will not be able to put in a conclusion, right? And a better introduction is better than a conclusion which could be maybe could be left out or could not be recorded because the time was up. Now let's look at another question type. If imaginary question. So this is a hypothetical situation that can come up. These questions are not very common. The most common type of questions would be the agree-disagree questions. Okay. Everyone, please have your videos on. Suddenly, everyone has disappeared. Yeah, please keep your videos on. Okay, so now the most common type of questions would be the agree-disagree and the preference type of questions. Now, if you get an if imaginary question, it will be an sort of hypothetical situation, and you would be asked to choose between two things. If you were given a choice between this and this, or if you were if you were made the captain of your school, what changes would you want in the school curriculum or the school activities? Yeah. So any hypothetical situation, if you had a lot of money, what would you do? Yeah. So you can choose anything. Now here it will become more of an open-ended question. You can use your imagination to express yourself. Like if you had a small amount of money, would you spend it right away or save it? So here you have two options and a hypothetical situation. If you had a small amount of money, what would you do? You would spend it right away or would you save it? So again, the same formula will apply here. Your opinion, and then your choice between spending or saving it. And then you would go on to explain why with examples, right? Or if you have something like this, if you would invent something new, what would that be? Explain your answer. Again, a hypothetical situation, invent something new. What would that be? It could be anything. No choice is given to you. It's up to you to to speak about what you want. Imagine that you have received some land that you can do anything with. What would you do? Explain your answer. So here, what is important? You have received some land. So what would you do with the land? Yeah, you may say, I want to build a building. I want to build a school. I want to build an NGO. I want to do some farming. I want to grow organic vegetables. Anything can come in. but you have to give 2 reasons and explain it properly. So the reason example will be there, right? So now coming to the template for the if imaginary question. Now remember, it is a conditional question, hypothetical situation. Now in SAT, you have, when you are doing grammar, you had done something about hypothetical situation. What verbs would you use? Same type of logic will apply here. So if you have a hypothetical situation, you will not use the words like will, can, right? What would you use? You would use would, could, were, right? If I were rich, I would do this. If I were to become the head girl, I would make these changes. So your beginning the first sentence will be if plus your subject, simple past tense, subject, would, could, or might, and then the verb. This is your format of the sentence. So any conditional question, if imaginary situation, say if I had a lot of money, I would save it for, I would save it rather than spend it straight away, right? So if I look at this, yeah, it's there. If I had a small amount of money, I would choose to save it for a number of reasons, right? So if I had, I would. It will not be I will choose to. Always remember would will come in. So if looking at the template, then if I, then you put in the what it is from the question. I would dash. The first reason is, the second reason is, and you give your example. Explain your reason with the help of example. And if you have time, go in for a conclusion, otherwise not required, right? Now, if you look at a sample response on this.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
And can you show the previous slide?
Okay, sorry, I just went in too fast. Right? So your template would be if I dash, I would do this. Your first reason. Now, only your first sentence differs. The rest of your strategy remains the same as the other questions. Yeah. The first reason is, the second reason is, or firstly, because, secondly, because. And you give your example. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear to everyone? Okay. Now let's look at a example here. If I had a small amount of money, I would save it. Yeah, clear? The first reason is I grew up in a family that prided themselves on having money in the bank, so it is easy for me to save money. Okay. The second reason is if there was an emergency and you would need some money, if you saved it, you would be okay. However, if you did not save it, you would be in trouble. So maybe this could be expanded a little more. I'm not too happy with this answer. Okay, there's an in addition also. There's a third point. Now, it could happen that if maybe this student found that the he or she hadn't expanded enough, there was still time, went in for a third point. In addition, it is more important to save money and pay off debts rather than waste your money on something useless. Yeah. So if you have 3 points, then also it is okay. And if you have 2 points, expand them enough. So for these reasons, I would save a small amount of money. Right? Got it? So it began with if I had, I would. The first reason is, the second reason is, and if you haven't expanded enough, in addition, you can add a third reason. Now, don't say a third reason is, you can just say in addition or furthermore, right? Okay, now we have a fourth type of question. Was it time? Just about 5 minutes. Which is the description or explanation type. Now, in the description or explanation type, it could be say a certain type of person is talked about, or you explain something about the world. A general topic will be given to you, and you will be an opinion would be asked, and you would be, or maybe the opinion of people are given, and you would be they would tell you to explain it. So if you look at a question, do you think bicycles will, now here again, it is very similar to the agree disagree question. So instead of saying I agree or disagree with, you would rather say in my opinion, right? So the question here is, do you think bicycles will still be widely used in the future or replaced by other means of transportation? Use reasons and specific examples to support your opinion. So what's the question specifically? It's talking about, do you think bicycles will still be widely used in the future or replaced by other means of transportation? So if you break it down, you actually have two sides of the story, right? So you would be choosing between bicycles being still widely used in future and replaced with other means of transportation. So if you're dealing with this question again, first thing, you would express your opinion. Secondly, the introduction would be expressing your opinion, that is choosing one side. Now, when you come to your points, you would give your reason for choosing that and example. So ultimately, it boils down to reason and example, right? Now, let's look at another one. What is an important benefit that an employer can offer to make sure employees are happy and healthy? Explain your answer. Now, here is something you have to explain, right? What do they want to know? Important benefit that an employer can offer. Now, this is again an open-ended question. It is up to you to figure out your points, but remember, it should be to make the employees happy and healthy. So again, you can choose one point that this is what the employer should do to make the employees happy and healthy. And then you're given your point, then you go on to the reason with example. So reason 1, reason 2, and example. This is what you have to put it. Okay, now we won't go into the questions right now. We'll come to the template again. In my opinion, you can begin with that, or I strongly believe, but don't use both of them together. Either you say I, in my opinion, or you say I firmly believe or I believe that. Yeah, I firmly believe that makes a stronger answer than I believe that. Right? But you won't say, in my opinion, I believe that. Or in my opinion, I firmly believe. Only one of them will be used. Or you can say, in my view, as far as I am concerned, it is my belief that any of these will do, but only one of them. Next, you will explain your reason. Same format again. Now, first of all, and furthermore, then if you want, you give a conclusion. So your first point, second point, and conclusion. So in your template, the only thing that changes is the introduction. The rest of it is the same strategy, right? No matter what question you get. Say, in my opinion, not all university students should be required to read the same book before entering the first year. In my view, bicycles will become obsolete due to the emergence of other means of transportation. So you're clearly giving the what you think, your opinion, one over the other. So this is more or less a mix of agree, disagree, and preference question, right? Or if you want to use as far as I am concerned, the most important benefit that an employer can offer to make sure employees are happy and healthy is a great healthcare package. Then it will go on to explain why. Okay. or if you want to use it is my belief that, then you just give your statement and then go on to your points. Okay. Now, I don't think I'll read the sample response right now. You can read it. Now, there's another type of question, which is the advantage, disadvantage. I think, do you want to just finish up with the template for this? If you have 2 minutes. So when you talk about the advantage and disadvantage, here you will be asked to give your opinion and talk about both the advantages and disadvantages, unless the question asks you to give only one of them, right? Sometimes the question may tell you, talk about the disadvantages of this. So you talk only about the disadvantages. You don't have to explain. You can just touch upon the advantages, but not explain. Yeah. So suppose you have a question like, should universities allow students to watch TV in their dormitories? What is your opinion and why? Yeah. What are the advantages and disadvantages of watching TV in dormitories? Include reason and examples. So your question is about watching TV in dormitories. You have to touch upon the advantages and disadvantages and also give your opinion. Okay, what happened? Everyone seems to have disappeared from the screen. Right? Okay, let me know if you people have to leave, then I'll just stop now. Anyone has to leave right now? Okay, I'll just finish up with this. Now, suppose you have a question like, read the second question, somebody. No one wants to read? Okay. Should young children spend a great amount of their time practicing sports? So it is time practicing sports. What is your opinion? Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this, specific reasons and examples. So you will begin with your opinion, and then first point will be your advantage, reason, example. Second point will be the disadvantage, reason, example, right? So if we look at a template on this, there are certain advantages and disadvantages too. Or if you don't want to use the word advantages and disadvantages, you can use other words. There are upsides and downsides too, benefits and drawbacks too of something, or there are certain pros and cons of. Now remember to use the correct preposition. If you're talking about advantages and disadvantages, then you use to. Upsides and downsides, you will use to. Maybe maybe if you talk about watching TV in the dorms, right? So there are benefits and drawbacks of watching TV in the dorms, or there are certain advantages and disadvantages to watching, allowing children to watch TV in the dorms. Or you can say positive aspects and negative aspects of something. Yeah. Say if we talk about living in a small city has its pros and cons. Yeah. Or has its advantages and disadvantages, has its benefits and drawbacks. So depending upon what topic you have, you can use something other than advantages and disadvantages in your response. Now, if you look at the template, there are certainly both pros and cons of, yeah. So your introduction, advantages and disadvantages to, or pros and cons of. Now, your first point will be about the advantage. First of all, one advantage is, and you have to elaborate on that. So you have to give your reason and example. Yeah. Second point will be your disadvantage. However, now when you talk about disadvantage, remember it is a contrast, right? So you can use a transition to show the contrast. However, is the easiest way to show the contrast. However, a major disadvantage is, or on the flip side, a major disadvantage is, and then you can express your opinion at the end. You've given the advantage, you've given the disadvantage, maybe you have emphasized more on the advantage or the disadvantage. Overall, though, I guess it is better to, whatever, it is better to not allow children to watch TV in the dormitories. Yeah, because of the above advantages, or because of the above disadvantages. So that shows clearly that in your opinion, there are more disadvantages. Yeah. So I believe it is beneficial to dash, but there can be some disadvantages, right? Firstly, or first, and then you go on to, however, I believe that there are disadvantages as well. That way you can talk about. So I believe, so these are the examples of your conclusion where you are expressing your opinion, right? I believe there are advantages and disadvantages, but I would prefer this. So you can add your preference to that, right? Okay, I think we will go on with the examples in our next lesson before we begin with the integrated. So you can practice anyway. So in your let me look for the just a second. I'll just open up the guidelines section so you'll get to know the topics. Okay, you have a whole lot of topics. Last time we said there were the 30 topics for agree, disagree. Preference question type. You have about another 30 questions or more than 30 questions, 40 questions on preference. Yeah, you pick up any one or two of them and practice, right? Similarly, you have the description explanation type of question, the advantage, disadvantage type of question. So there are ample questions to practice with. You have to practice, record yourself, and how many questions per day you can do? Per day? How many questions per day would you be able to do?
4 to 5, I guess.
Okay, very good. So try doing this, because after this we will be coming up with the integrated speaking task, which will require a little more practice to get to the specific format that Toefl wants you to. Okay. So I think that's enough for today. We've exceeded our time also. Okay, now another thing, in your timetable, just check whether there is a class for this for coming Friday, that is 2nd June. Because in my timetable, there's no class that is showing for 2nd June. Just check your timetables, whether there is a class or not. If it shows we'll have the class, I'll confirm, or we will confirm on the group. And if not, then we will meet next Monday. Okay. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I just want to talk about SAT. Just want to ask one question.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm giving my test on 3 June, that is Saturday, but I don't know the timings.
You've got a letter. What is your center? You must have got a mail. You got a mail from SAT. You must have got a mail from College Board. Just check the mail.
Okay, so in there it will be, right?
Yeah. All details will be given, what you need to carry, when, what is the reporting time, what is the procedure.
Is it this one?
No, I think you would have another one. This is you would have got
Ma'am,
something more. Yes.
ma'am, if I'm not wrong, we'll get our admission tickets from Blue Book, right? Because I got one from there. It has all the details on it.
Okay, so yeah, you should have got an admission ticket. Just confirm. If you haven't got, you just write to them or contact them that you haven't received the admission ticket. Just check your spam mails. Maybe it would have gone into that.
Ma'am, actually, there's one quick setup you have to do in Blue Book. So
Okay, you have
there,
to.
yeah. So
Okay,
there's an
can you
option.
just explain it?
Ma'am, there's an application called Blue Book on which I will be taking our SAT, right? So there's some quick setup thing over there on the dashboard itself. And then we'll have to just go through that and we'll get our admission ticket there. And from there, we can ask them to mail the admission ticket.
Okay, Charul, did you understand? So if you're not able to get it, you can get in touch with Shruti ma'am. She'll help you out on that.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? So did you register for Blue Book also?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you done the mock test of Blue Book?
Yes, ma'am. 2, 3 I've did.
2, 3 have done. How are you doing?
Ma'am, not that good.
Not
But
that good.
yeah.
So I had asked everyone, you were all asked to come up with your doubts. We had a doubt session. Even now, if you have any doubts between, say, today and tomorrow, you can ask Manish sir, and we can arrange at least a half an hour session to clear your doubt.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if
So I
you
got this one, maybe it is.
So you have to go into the link, I think.
Yeah, it seems to be.
You do one thing, call up Shruti ma'am and ask her that you haven't received the admission ticket, how to go about it. So she'll give you the clear steps or she will help you to do it.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? Okay. And all the best for your SAT.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sahas, you are also doing the SAT on Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Ma'am,
Yes,
one more
Varshini.
thing.
Yes, Sahas. Just a
Ma'am,
moment.
I'll be sending my recording. Can you please just suggest what to do?
Okay, now I think for all those who are appearing for the SAT on Saturday, focus on that first. And Sunday onwards, you can focus on your Toefl.
Okay.
Right? Presently, I think your focus should be on SAT and to get maximum score on that.
Yes.
Okay. And if you have any doubts on SAT, please get in touch with Shruti ma'am or Manish sir so that we can arrange at least half an hour session on Thursday or Friday.
Sure.
Right? Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you.
And all the best. Yes, Varshini, you were saying something?
Yeah, ma'am. About the questions you were doing earlier. So there was this one question about the roommate, the preference question. So for those kind of preference question, do we always have to start with I prefer so and so, or can I start with like statement?
What type of statement?
Like for the roommate question, like can I start like this? Being in a new city with entirely new culture, I would prefer a roommate who is friendly.
Yeah, you can.
That works, ma'am?
Yeah, of course it works. If you can pull it out, definitely it works.
Okay, ma'am. So if I like that, I wouldn't really be able to tell that this is because, so if I'm starting like that, being in a new city with entirely new culture, I would prefer a roommate who is friendly for the following 2 reasons.
Yes, Anushka ma'am.
Yeah.
You want to end the meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just give me 1 minute. Just let Varshini complete what she was saying.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Varshini.
Yeah, ma'am. For the following 2 reasons. Firstly, a friendly roommate is the one so no, firstly, a friendly
Hmm.
roommate is one who you can interact with much comfortably. For instance, she could guide me and help me get things sorted in the new environment. And like I'll state another point.
Yeah, you can do that. Of course.
Okay.
See, the point of using templates is that so that you don't get stuck. You
Okay.
know exactly how to start, no matter what question you get in those 15 seconds. You don't have to think about how to begin your answer. You just have to think about what points you need to put in.
Okay. Ma'am.
Right? So even if you use the templates and these templates are very widely used in TOEFL, so no problem about it.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? In fact, they would prefer you using a specific template which you are most comfortable with. That's why I said there are different options of the templates. You can choose any one of them and stick to it.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? So whether it is a agree-disagree question or preference question, only a few terms will change, the rest of it remains the same.
Okay.
Right? Okay then, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Okay,
you,
bye,
Anushka ma'am.
Yeah, bye,
Sorry
ma'am.
for
Thank
keeping you waiting.
No, it's okay, ma'am. It's okay. Bye.
Okay, thank you.